The plate was still warm, steam curling off the edges of the gravy-soaked meatloaf, untouched. Jenna didn't move. Her eyes were locked on the kitchen door, barely swinging now, but still echoing the scream from inside. It wasn't a human. Scream! The diner had only 2 other customers that night, both heads down, one muttering to himself, the other asleep over a coffee cup that hadn't been refilled in an hour. The waitress, Casey, hadn't come back from the kitchen since. She asked if Jenna wanted extra mashed potatoes. That was 20 minutes ago. Jenna's hands trembled under the table. Her phone buzzed once, but she didn't look. She was still hearing the sound. Wet, raw, like a wounded animal gurgling its last breath. Then the kitchen door creaked again. This time, it didn't swing back. Someone or something was standing just behind it, breathing. Jenna stood up slowly, the soles of her boots sticky against the faded black and white tile. She didn't want to be the girl who dies because she had to check. But Casey was inside, her friend, her only friend left since... She stopped the thought. Grief would get her killed. She tiptoed forward. One more step. One more. The door burst open. It wasn't Casey, it was blood. Splashed in wide arcs, coating the walls, pouring out beneath the prep table, and in the center of it, a note, scrawled in something far darker than ink. He's hungry, and you fed him. Jenna stumbled back, heart punching her ribs. Her heel caught on a chair leg, and she hit the floor hard, pain exploding up her spine. Her phone buzzed again. She grabbed it. A new message. Unknown. Number, leave now. He's still in the walls. And that's when the sound started again. From behind the diner's chipped wood panels, a slow scratching, then chewing. The sound was too human to be a rat. It wasn't just chewing. It was gnawing, deliberate, sickening, wet, like teeth grinding through something soft, something alive. Jenna backed away on all fours until her hand landed in something warm and sticky. She didn't look. She couldn't. Her eyes were fixed on the paneling. The sound was coming from behind it. The wall itself breathing with each slow, hungry bite. Her phone buzzed again. Unknown number. If you run, he follows. Be still. She froze. From the corner of her eye, she saw the old man in the booth finally stir. His face was pale, gaunt, not surprised by the blood or the silence, but expecting it. Jenna whispered, "Do you hear that?" He didn't respond, just stared ahead like he was somewhere else. She crawled to her feet, knees shaking. "Sir, we need to call the police. There's something in the wall. Casey is missing. There's blood in the kitchen." Finally, he turned to her. His eyes were yellow, not jaundiced, unnatural. "You fed him," the man said, voice like gravel and ash, "just by walking in here. Now he knows your name." Jenna blinked. "What are you talking about?" He smiled. "You shouldn't have touched the floor." The chewing stopped. Jenna's breath caught in her throat. Silence fell so suddenly it screamed louder than the noise. Even the neon buzzing from the open all-night sign outside seemed to dim. Then came the whisper, not from the man, not from her phone, from inside the wall. It knew her name. Gina. She turned and ran, not outside. Instinct pulled her toward the kitchen, the blood, the horror she already knew rather than the one she couldn't see. The kitchen light flickered once, then held steady. The pool of blood had stopped spreading, and in the center, the note was gone. In its place was Casey's name tag, cracked in half. Jenna's lungs burned. She crouched behind the pantry shelf, heart slamming against her ribs. Her mind raced. What was this place? Why hadn't she seen any other employees? Why didn't the customers seem surprised? She checked her phone. No signal, only one thing worked. The messages from the unknown number. She typed fast. "Who are you?" No reply. She typed again. "What is he? How do I get out?" A long pause. Then, "He takes memories first, then faces, then bodies. He likes the ones who scream, Her fingers shook. Before she could type again, she heard footsteps, not behind her, above, on the ceiling. The tiles creaked as something heavy shifted directly overhead. Then a low thump, and then the pantry door creaked open. She held her breath. A hand slid around the door frame, but it wasn't a hand. It was boneless, like cooked meat hanging from bone splinters, fingers stretched too long, nails peeling back. And on the wrist, Casey's bracelet. Jenna clamped a hand over her mouth to keep from screaming. She watched as the thing dragged itself halfway into the pantry, sniffing the air. No eyes, just holes where a face used to be. Then her phone buzzed, loud, too loud. The thing snapped toward her. She bolted through the freezer, past the deep fryer, toward the back exit. It followed, fast, too fast for something that broken. It screamed as it ran, a sound that didn't belong in this world. Something between a dying pig and a child in agony. She hit the back door with her shoulder. Locked. The thing was almost on her. She reached for a fire extinguisher on the wall. Grabbed. It turned and smashed it into the thing's face. It didn't bleed. It spilled, black, like tar, bubbling as it hit the floor. It screeched, reared back, and melted into the wall, vanishing like smoke through cracks. Silence again. Jenna collapsed against the door, gasping. Then she saw it, carved into the freezer door, like someone had clawed it in. "You are the meal now." Her phone lit up. Unknown number. "You hurt him. He'll remember. That's the only way out," Jenna blinked. The only way out of what? And then it hit her. This wasn't a random attack. This diner wasn't just cursed or haunted. It was the trap. A living, breathing thing. The customers weren't alive. They were leftovers. She needed to get out, but she couldn't run. Not if it followed sound. She crept back toward the front, listening. The booths were empty now. Even the old man was gone. Only one thing remained. A door in the back Jenna hadn't noticed before. Faded green paint. No handle. Her phone buzzed. Unknown number. "Don't open it. That's where he keeps the others." She stepped closer. Blood oozed from the edges. A whisper leaked out. "Help me, Casey." It was her voice. Jenna's eyes filled with tears. Her best friend since high school. She couldn't leave. "I'm coming," she whispered. "No," said the voice behind her. The old man, standing again, now closer than before. His face changing, less human, more remembered, like a dream fading in reverse. "She's not your friend anymore. None of us are." Jenna turned to run, but he grabbed her wrist. And that's when she saw it, on his neck, the same name tag, the other half. Casey. The old man smiled, voice slipping between tones, male and female, high and deep. "She's me now." She didn't scream. She roared, yanked free, and ran for the door. Any door. She passed the booths, now crawling with hands, severed arms moving like spiders, dragging themselves across tabletops. The jukebox sparked. "Dream a Little Dream of Me" began to play. Slowed, warped, the lyrics breaking apart. Like shattered glass, she found the front entrance unlocked, wide open. Was this real? She stepped outside into the cold. No fog, no blood, no sound. She turned back to look at the diner. It was gone. Nothing but a field, and in her hand, her phone buzzed once more. "Unknown number. He let you go, for now, but the meal isn't finished." Jenna dropped the phone. It shattered. So did the silence. A scream echoed from behind her, from somewhere deep in the woods, and it was her own voice. The scream echoed longer than it should have. Jenna stood frozen at the tree line. Her feet caked in dirt, the scent of pine mixing with something fouler, something rotting. That was her voice. No doubt about it, and it was coming from the woods ahead, not the diner behind. But the diner was gone, completely, as if it had never existed. She looked back again. Only empty land stretched behind her. No lights, no doors, no neon sign humming in the dark. Just silence. Then came the scream again. Louder, closer, still her voice. She stumbled backward, heart punching against her chest. "This isn't real," she whispered, but her body didn't believe it. Her phone was shattered, screen spiderwebbed beyond repair, but the last message still glowed in jagged green. "He let you go, for now." But the meal isn't finished. Jenna pocketed the broken device like it was a charm. Then she heard another voice, not a scream this time. A cry, it sounded like a child. "Help, please. Mom," Jenna's breath caught. "A little boy? Out here?" She crept into the woods, against every instinct screaming inside her. But that voice, it had cracked with genuine fear. She knew what fake sounded like. This wasn't that. She stepped through the brush, branches scratching her arms. The forest was dense, but not endless. There was a clearing ahead, and something glowing. Not fire, not moonlight. A door, standing alone. In the middle of the clearing, upright, unattached to any wall or frame, painted green. No handle, just like the one in the diner. Then a soft whimper came from the other side. "Please don't let him take me." A shadow flickered behind the door. Jenna stepped closer. "Who's there?" she whispered. Silence. Then, bang! A fist slammed against the other side of the door. A child's handprint smeared in blood. Jenna jumped back. Her boot struck something. Behind her, she turned quickly. A mirror. No frame, just floating upright like the door. And inside it, she was still inside the diner, sitting at the booth, eating the meatloaf, smiling. She stared at her reflection in horror. Her other self looked up and winked. Jenna stumbled backward and collapsed to the dirt. This wasn't just escape, this was separation. Half of her was still inside. No, worse. Something was pretending to be her, wearing her face, living her life, feeding him. She looked back at the door. The crying had stopped. Now it whispered. He took the wrong half. A new buzz. Her phone, still broken, lit up again. A message. Unknown number. "You're not free. You're the leftovers." Then another. "If you want your life back, you have to take hers first." Jenna sat, motionless, her throat dry, her heart screaming louder than the forest ever could. Kill her other self. Was that what this was? A ritual, a choice? Before she could move, the door creaked open, though it had no handle. Behind it, the diner, Howl. Again, lit alive inside her double, sitting in the booth, laughing now, pouring syrup over pancakes across from her. Someone else sat. Jenna leaned closer. It was Casey, alive, whole, laughing too, and the old man, the one who wasn't really human, serving them coffee. They all looked so normal, so happy, like she'd never existed. "No," Jenna whispered. "No, no, no." She stepped through the door before she could second-guess it. She was back inside. The air smelled too clean. The booths were flawless. There was no blood, no claw marks, no whispering walls, just clinking dishes, gentle chatter, and the low hum of a jukebox playing an old 1950s tune. She stood behind the double, behind her own self, same hoodie, same hair, same scar under the left ear, same everything. She raised her voice. "Hey!" No one turned. She stepped closer. "Hey, I said look at me!" The other Jenna looked up slowly and smiled. Her eyes were hollow, her teeth wrong. Too many. "You came back," fake Jenna said. Casey looked up. Her eyes were glassy now. Not alive, not human. The old man leaned over the counter. "Meal's almost done," he said, and suddenly all the walls peeled back, literally peeled, as if the diner was skin and bone. Beyond them, nothing but flesh, a pulsing, living entity made of organs, mouths, eyes, and Jenna was inside it. The booth beneath her cracked, revealing muscle and blood. Casey's skin sagged, falling off in sheets, revealing blackened bones and a stitched-together smile. Fake Jenna stood, You left me behind. But he needed both. She held out a knife. Let's finish dinner. Jenna grabbed a fork off the table and backed away. I'm not part of this. Fake Jenna tilted her head. You are now. You split when you escaped. That's the rule. What? Rule? That every meal has to be shared, and someone always gets eaten. The lights snapped off. Pitch black, Jenna ran through the kitchen, through the blood-soaked pantry. The door she came through, gone again. She was trapped again. She could hear her double chasing behind, not running, crawling, fast, animal fast. She threw open a drawer, knives, too small, grabbed a cleaver, turned and swung. It hit something solid, and the shriek that followed shook the walls. Jenna lit a match from the stove. Fake Jenna was on the ground, bleeding red now, a flicker of something real. The double was weakening. Jenna stepped forward, and her phone buzzed again. Unknown number. Finish it and take your life back, or stay and become the next server. She raised the cleaver, hesitated. Was this murder, or was this mercy? The thing on the floor smiled. You kill me. You stay forever. Jenna's eyes filled with tears. I am you. No, she whispered. You're what's left when someone forgets who they are. She brought the cleaver down. Hard. 1, 2, 3 times. Until the thing didn't move anymore. The diner collapsed, literally, folded inward like a dying lung. Jenna was thrown through the air. When she hit the ground, cold asphalt, bright headlights. A truck skidded to a stop. The driver jumped out. Ma'am, Jesus, are you okay? Where did you come from? She looked back. Behind her, only dirt. No diner, no blood, no door. She was free, or so she thought, until the EMT lifted her into the ambulance. Name? He asked. Jenna Moore, she said. He froze. That's odd, he whispered. We had a call earlier tonight, same name, hit and run, but she didn't make it. She looked in the mirror inside the ambulance and saw her face again, smiling from inside the reflection. The ambulance's red lights flickered across the trees, but Jenna couldn't stop staring at the mirror inside. Her reflection smiled back at her. It wasn't just a trick of the glass. It blinked on its own, opposite of her. When Jenna looked away, it kept watching. She pressed her hand against the surface, cold. But her reflection's hand didn't move. It waved. The EMT buckled her. Hindu, you've got a concussion. Don't panic, but you were unconscious for at least 10 minutes before we got to you. You sure you're okay? Jenna swallowed hard. No blood, no diner, no knife in her hand, but in her chest. A heaviness that didn't belong to her. That night in the hospital, she dreamed of pancakes, the same booth, same silver syrup pitcher. But this time she wasn't eating. She was on the plate, bleeding, smiling. She woke up screaming, and when she sat up, there was something in her lap. A green key, real, cold, metal, the same color as the diner's front door, and engraved on it, table. 6 reserved. Jenna discharged herself the next morning. She ignored the doctor's protests, the police's questions, and Casey's mother's phone calls. She had one goal now: find table 6. She didn't know what it meant, or how that damn key found its way to her hospital gown. But she knew one thing: the story wasn't over. 2 days later, she visited Casey's apartment. It was abandoned, as if she'd never lived there. Even the landlord insisted there'd never been a Casey lawn in their system. Jenna pulled up photos of them together. Vacations, selfies, birthdays, gone. From her phone, every image, just Jenna, laughing into the void. Even a birthday video where Casey had been singing, now played with only her own voice, singing to no one. Reality had been rewritten, and she was the only one who remembered. That night, she stared at the green key until her eyes blurred. Something shifted in her chest, not fear this time, resolve. She grabbed her coat, slipped the key into her pocket, and headed back to the road where the diner wasn't. The dirt was the same. No tracks, No footprints, just silence. But she could feel it, a heartbeat beneath the ground. She closed her eyes. "Bring it back," she whispered. And the moment she did, the wind stopped. Everything went still, and a single door appeared in front of her. Green. Freestanding dot, no frame, just like before. And this time, a plaque. "Table 6 is ready." She inserted the key. The door creaked open. She was back in the diner, but it wasn't broken anymore. No flickering lights, no blood, no mouths on the walls, just a single booth, already set. Candles lit, silverware gleaming, and across the table sat Casey, alive, smiling, just like the first night they met. "Hi, Jay," she said softly. Jenna stood frozen. "I watched you die," she whispered. Casey nodded. "I did, but I came back because he let me." "Who?" "The one who feeds." A shadow moved behind the counter. The old man, unchanged, skin like wax, hands too long, smile too sharp. "You came back," he rasped. "Most don't." "I need answers," Jenna said. He poured her coffee. "There's a price." She sat, across from the person she once called her best friend, maybe her only real one. "What is this place?" Casey answered instead. "It's where the truth gets eaten, and only the lie gets to live." Jenna blinked. "I don't understand." Casey's eyes shimmered. "I made a deal the night I died. I didn't want to go. He offered me life, but I had to give him something." Jenna's hands shook. "You gave him me." Tears ran down Casey's cheeks. "I didn't mean to. He said just a memory. But he took you from the world. Like you never existed." The old man chuckled. "People are full of flavors. You were sweet, Jenna, hopeful, full of fire." He leaned closer. "But now you're bitter, angry, which means you'll taste even better this time." Jenna stood. "I want her back," she said. Casey looked up, stunned. "You'd trade places? After what I did?" "No, I'm not trading anything. I'm ending it." The lights went out. Screams began to echo. Not hers, not Casey's. Other voices. Hundreds, thousands, trapped souls. Every meal, every victim, all of them crying out. "Run," Casey whispered. "He's waking." The old man's smile widened, tearing at the corners. "I'm always awake." The walls peeled back again, revealing the pulsing, living flesh behind them. But Jenna didn't run. She reached into her coat and pulled out the mirror she'd taken from the hospital's bathroom. Held it up. The reflection? Hers, but younger. Innocent, before the pain, before the betrayal, before the diner. "You feed on pain," Jenna said. "But what happens when we remember who we were before the trauma?" the old man hissed. The mirror glowed. Jenna shoved it forward into his chest. Light exploded through the room. He shrieked, not in rage, but in fear. His body cracked like glass. The diner groaned. Casey screamed as hands reached up from the floor, grabbing her legs. "No," she cried. "He's taking me back." Jenna grabbed her, held tight. "You're not going alone." The mirror between them shone brighter, then shattered, and just like that, it was morning. They were both on the road, alive, breathing, covered in ash and dirt. The diner gone again. But this time, so was the key. Weeks passed. Reality came back. Photos. With Casey reappeared on Jenna's phone. Her name was in systems again. She was real, whole, but changed. They never spoke of the diner again until one rainy night. Casey showed up at Jenna's door and handed her something, a green menu, no name, no address, just 3 words scribbled inside. "Next table's yours." It had been 4 months since the diner vanished. Jenna was sleeping better, smiling more. Sometimes she almost believed it was over, until the menu arrived. Casey left it on her doorstep like it weighed 100 pounds. Inside were just 3 words, "Next table's yours." And underneath, scribbled like a child's handwriting, "You." "Open the door. Now finish the meal." Jenna's hands trembled. She hadn't touched the mirror since that night, hadn't spoken the name, hadn't thought of him. But it was too late. The door was already open. That night, Jenna had a dream. In it, she was back in her childhood kitchen. Her mother was stirring soup, humming. The smell of burnt onions filled the air. Jenna sat at the table, except her body wasn't hers. She was a little girl again. She reached for the spoon, but her hands were rotting. Her mother turned. Half her face was gone. Maggots crawling from her cheek, but her voice was calm. "You never learned to stop feeding it, did you, baby?" Jenna screamed. She woke up clutching her throat. Something was in her mouth, a torn napkin from the diner, scrawled in grease. Table, 7 now open. By morning, Casey was gone. Jenna called her, texted, drove to her apartment. No answer. Inside, everything was left. Keys, wallet, phone, but the door was unlocked. The air smelled like syrup and smoke. On the wall, scratched into, the paint. She sat at the wrong table. Jenna fell to her knees. Not again. Not her. Not this time. She went back to the road, the one that shouldn't exist, and just like before, the door was there, standing in the dirt, but this time it was black. No key, no handle, just a slit at eye level. Behind it, a whisper, "Come feed." She took a breath and stepped through. It wasn't the same diner. This was before. Cleaner, brighter, 1970s music playing. Waitresses in pastel uniforms, every table full. Laughter, toast, except everyone had no eyes. Their sockets were covered with napkins soaked in ketchup. Still, they laughed. And in the corner, table 7 empty, waiting. The hostess walked over, eyes sewn shut. "Jenna, right?" she said sweetly. "You're just in time." Jenna sat. The menu appeared in front of her, but there were no food items, just names. People she knew, her father, her ex-fiancé, her therapist, her 5th grade teacher, Casey, and beside each, available, medium rare, served cold. Jenna pushed it away. "I'm not choosing." The hostess smiled. "You already did." Suddenly, the lights flickered. The laughter turned to sobbing. The guests at every table hunched forward, pounding the plates, their hands blistered, skin melting. Jenna stood, but she couldn't move. Her legs were rooted to the floor. From beneath, tendrils of flesh wrapped around her ankles. And the old man emerged from the kitchen, wearing a chef's apron, blood dripping from his fingers. "Welcome." "Back, darling," he rasped. "You've kept me hungry." "I never agreed to anything." He tilted his head. "No, you opened the door. You fed me your rage, your grief. You brought Casey. That's 3 courses, Jenna. Desserts on you." The mirror appeared on the table, but this time it showed him. Not the old man, the one before him, a young cook, maybe 20 years old, nervous smile, sharp eyes, then another image, the same boy dead in the freezer, betrayed by the owner, left to rot, then back again. The boy, alive, whispering, "They eat your pain, but they also eat your choices. That's the deal. You feed them your guilt, they feed you lies, and soon you forget who you ever were." Jenna gasped. The old man wasn't a demon. He was someone who broke too deeply and never healed. He became the diner. "I don't want to forget," Jenna whispered. The old man leaned close. "But you will." And with that, he snapped his fingers. A world melted. She was back in her kitchen. Sunlight, coffee brewing. Casey at the table, scrolling her phone. "You okay?" Casey asked. Jenna blinked. "What day is it?" "Thursday." Jenna tried to speak, but nothing came out. She looked down. At her hands clean, she checked her phone. No strange photos, no napkin, no menu, just peace, normalcy. She sat down. Maybe it was just a dream. Maybe the trauma had finally twisted itself out, but then the toaster popped. Inside was a severed finger. Casey didn't notice. Jenna picked it. Up, still warm. The mirror above the sink fogged, then cleared, not her reflection, but her mother dead 20 years. "I warned you," she said. "If you keep feeding it, you'll become it." Jenna dropped the finger. The kitchen flickered, and just like that, she was back in the diner alone. No tables, no Casey, no laughter, just the old man's voice. You're not a guest anymore, Jenna. You're on staff. She looked down. She was wearing a waitress uniform. Name tag. Hello, my name is Jay. The bell on the door jingled. A woman stepped inside. Young, nervous, carrying grief on her shoulders. Jenna felt a deep pull in her stomach. A hunger. No, she whispered. Please, no. But her feet moved on their own. She reached for a menu and said automatically, "Welcome to the Hollow Griddle. Table for one?" The woman nodded. Jenna smiled, dead behind the eyes. Right this way. The bell above the diner. Door chimed again. Another woman entered, so ordinary it hurt. Maybe 25, messy bun, dull eyes, wearing grief like perfume. Jenna smiled, but her soul screamed. "Welcome to the Hollow Griddle. Table for one." The woman nodded slowly. First time? She nodded again. Jenna's hand hovered over the menu. Every part of her, every broken inch, wanted to stop, wanted to scream, "Run, you're not safe!" But the uniform was sewn into her skin. The name tag burned against her chest. She wasn't a guest anymore. She was part of the place, and the diner never let you quit. As the girl sat at table 9, Jenna stood frozen. The other staff, faceless and quiet, floated by like ghosts, plates of food that shimmered, forks that cut memories open. Behind the kitchen door, she heard him, the old man, humming an old war song, the one she heard in her dreams. But suddenly, a sound pierced the air, a bell, one that came from outside, real, human, different. The front door opened and Casey walked in. She looked terrible, hair uneven, clothes soaked, but eyes wide open. She carried something under her arm, a mirror. The same. On Jenna, shattered, reassembled, cracked but alive. Casey didn't wait. She marched to table 9, grabbed the girl by the hand and said, "You don't belong here." The girl tried to speak, but her mouth melted away. Casey lifted the mirror toward her face, and the girl began to cry, because in the mirror she saw her mother, holding her as a baby, a memory she thought was gone. Love, real, unstolen. The girl disappeared. In a blink, freed, gone from the diner's grip. The lights flickered, the walls groaned. The old man roared from the kitchen, "Who brought the mirror back?" Jenna trembled. The mirror in Casey's hand turned toward her, and for the first time in what felt like eternity, Jenna saw herself. Not the waitress, not the weapon, not the trauma. Just her. Frightened, brave, flawed, alive, and in that instant, she remembered everything. The man she once loved, who vanished without warning, the mother who overdosed in the hallway while Jenna made dinner, the sister who stole everything, the silence she was forced to swallow. Year after year, the diner hadn't created the pain. It just fed on what was already there and gave her power in return, false power, power that twisted into hunger. That's why she'd stayed. Because inside the hollow griddle, she could control something. But now she saw it for what it was, a trap made of wounds, and she was done feeding it. She turned toward the kitchen, toward him, and spoke, not in fear, but in fury. "You don't get to wear my pain like an apron anymore." The old man stepped out, but he was changing. Not into a monster, into a child, terrified, crying. "You needed me," he whispered. "I held your memories safe. I cooked them until they didn't burn anymore." Jenna stepped forward. "No, you drowned them in sugar and grease so I wouldn't feel them." She lifted the mirror. He backed away. "I was just trying to help," he whimpered. The diner walls began to crack, red light bleeding through every surface. Jenna held her ground. "You helped me hide, but now I'm ready to feel." The mirror pulsed with light. It burned into her hands, her chest, her spine, but she didn't drop it. She closed her eyes and let every emotion flood back in. The betrayal, the screams, the cold mornings, the abandonment, the Shame, the real memories, and instead of collapsing under them, she stood tall, the mirror shattered in her grip. But this time, it didn't break her, it broke him. The old man dropped to the floor, not as a monster, but as a memory. He whispered, "I was only ever what you couldn't face." Then vanished. The walls peeled back, the booths dissolved. One by one, the staff faded, the floor crumbled like ash, and finally, the hollow griddle ceased to exist. Jenna and Casey stood in a field of dirt, sunlight warming their faces. No doors, no echoes, just silence. Casey turned to her. "I didn't think you'd come back for me," she said quietly. "I didn't come back for you," Jenna whispered. "I came back for me." They smiled, small, sad, but real. Weeks later, Jenna stood outside a new building, a real diner, one she bought herself. Tiny, honest, windows clean, name on the sign, second serving. Inside, people laughed, they cried, they healed, and on the wall, a single mirror, cracked but whole. Below it, a sign read, "We remember, so we don't get eaten." The end.